Who carries the R for your finance department? 3 times a year, you sit down at your 20 group and they hand out the composite and you find your store on the F&I page. And for some of you, your number's on the right-hand side of the page, the underperforming side of the page. You're looking across that page at the dealer that's pinned to the left, doing F&I numbers that frankly you don't even believe are real. And a little voice in your head says, there's no way they're doing that clean. And there's no way they could do that in my market, not with my customers. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what's going on with that dealer on the left-hand side of the page, because I've been the guy they've hired to get them there. And here's the part that's gonna bother you. The thing that's keeping you on the right-hand side of the page isn't your market, it isn't your customers, and it isn't your menu or your pay plan. It's one question almost no dealer can answer honestly. Who carries the R in your finance department? R stands for responsibility. Who actually is carrying it? Because once you know the answer to that, you'll understand exactly why you're on the right-hand side of the page and exactly how to get to the left-hand side of the page. If you're the dealer who hates losing and looks at the 20 group composite and can't stand seeing someone beat you, this one's for you. Not the dealer who's fine being average. The one who wants to be pinned to the left-hand side of the page, top of the 20 group, and stay there. I've spent 19 years walking into underperforming finance departments, figuring out what's broken and moving the needle fast. And I'm gonna take you on the inside of a room, a real 20 group where they invited me in to do a keynote speech earlier this year. A group where very successful dealers tried to tear apart my process, looking for the trick, the silver bullet. What they found wasn't what they expected. It was better, and it was a lot harder to swallow. Stick with me to the end, because I'm gonna show you the difference between being a trainer and being a performance coach, and why that difference is the whole reason some stores are stuck on the right-hand side of the page in their 20 group, and they will be stuck there for years. Do me one favor, hit subscribe so these solutions keep showing up for you. Now, before I take you into that room, I've got to connect this to something, because if you saw my last video on reinsurance, this is going to hit hard. Last time I told you about a dealer running 104% loss ratio in their reinsurance company 6 years into writing, watching the thing they were counting on just bleed out. And the big lesson in that video was this: an upside down reinsurance company is almost never just a reinsurance problem. It's a symptom of an underperforming finance department. And sometimes a weak reinsurance company is the only thing hiding that underperformance, because it's quietly subsidizing the difference. So here's the order of operations, and it matters. Step 1, the foundation. You've got to be selling products in F&I that actually have enough premium in them to pay and cover all the claims for your customers and run a targeted loss ratio. That's the solid ground. Then and only then do we build F&I profitability on top of that solid ground, because you cannot build a high-performing F&I department on under-reserved products. All you'd be doing is taking one problem and turning it into a second problem. So if you haven't watched that reinsurance video yet, watch it first, build the foundation, and then come back here, because this video is about what you build on top of it. All right, let me take you into that room. Back in February, I got invited into one of my clients' dealer 20 groups. And I want to be clear about how I got that seat, because it matters. They didn't bring me in to do a sales presentation. They asked me to come in and deliver a keynote speech on F&I and how to actually move the needle for real. And the reason I earned that invite is because one of my long-term clients was in that 20 group, and for the last 3 or 4 years, their F&I number has been pinned on the left-hand side of the page. He was beating everyone in that room, not by a little, by a lot. Now, before I show up, the group asked me, put together some materials as a leave behind. They wanted to know, what is your F&I pay plan that you recommend? What is your menu process? What does it actually look like? What does your accept decline look like? What does your desking process look like? They wanted it all, and I was prepared to give it to them. And I knew exactly why they wanted it, because the numbers they were watching their peer put up in their minds were quite literally unbelievable. Their first thought wasn't, how do I do that? Their first thought was, there must be something in this guy isn't doing quite right, something I wouldn't want to do in my store, and something that wouldn't work with my market, my customers, my banks, whatever. And honestly, that's a natural first reaction when a dealer sees performance that's dramatically higher than their own. The mind reaches for the trick. So when I walked in to give the keynote, I knew what they said they wanted, the tools, but I knew what they were really after, they were looking for the silver bullet. And before they even let me begin my speech, they wanted to pick my process apart. How do you structure the deal? How do you set up the opportunity for F&I? Is this thing above board from an ethics standpoint? Because they could not believe somebody could run a straight, clean deal and still put up those numbers. So here's where it got interesting, because I let them have their questions and then I told them the truth. I said, you asked me to bring you the menu, the pay plan, the desking procedure, the accept decline, and I brought them. But I need you to understand something. These are just tools. You can take every one of them, drop them into your store tomorrow, and they're probably gonna work about the same as the tools you've already got. Think about it. There's not a huge difference between a Snap-on wrench, a Craftsman wrench, or maybe a DeWalt wrench. A wrench is gonna do the job of a wrench. The difference in whether that engine runs right when the job is done, it's not the wrench, it's the mechanic. So that silver bullet everyone in this room was hunting for, how do I get from the right-hand side of the page to the left-hand side of the page? I've got news for you. It does not exist in a training manual. It does not exist in a training video, not even on a webinar that you can join. And it definitely doesn't exist on a YouTube video. That silver bullet exists in the 6 inches between your finance manager's ears. The problem is a villain has crept into that space. And until you get that villain out, none of these tools are gonna work, not one. They will not move the needle. Okay, let's talk about the villain. The villain's actually a mindset. It's a fixed pie mindset. The pie is only this big at our store. Your finance manager believes that your store, your customers, and your market, the pie is only this big. It has a fixed size, and they've been doing this for 20 years. They know what they're doing, and they genuinely believe they're already capturing all of this pie. That's their core belief. The pie is this big and I'm getting all of it. And it doesn't take much to uncover it. I walk in, I ask a couple questions, comes the information. I just ask, you're on the right-hand side of the page in the 20. Why can't you get to the left-hand side of the page and like everyone else in the 20 group? And they have 94 reasons ready to go. Look at our banks, look at my calls, look at my customers' credit. And they have 94 reasons ready to go. Our market's different. Our customers are different. Our credit scores are too high. So these folks don't want to buy anything. Our customers are paying cash, and cash customers, they don't like to buy anything. No, wait, our credit scores are too low, and our banks and credit unions aren't aggressive here like they are in other states. I can't get these customers financed. I'm maxing out the calls I'm getting from my lender. Here, I'll show you the printout. I'm getting it all. I'm getting the entire pie. And here's the trap for you as a dealer. If you haven't spent enough time in F&I on your way up, you lean into their expertise. You take their word for it, and little by little, you start to believe the pie is only so big in your market, in your store, and with your customers. You see what other dealers are doing in their markets, and you just tell yourself, that's just not possible here. Not in my store, not with my customers, not with my banks. Let me give you the single biggest red flag. If you ever hear a finance manager say the words, hey, I'm a realist, I know this is all we can get, you've already lost. The second somebody calls themselves a realist about why the pie can't grow, the villain has already won. Now here's the part most dealers in the room didn't want to hear. These were high performance dealers. They sold a lot of cars. They did a lot of service business. These were high performance dealers. They were still making millions of dollars to the bottom line per year. So you get into that, if it ain't broke, I'm not gonna fix it or spend time, money fixing it type of mentality. But let me tell you what the best case scenario looks like when that fixed pie mindset moves into your store. The best case, this is the good version. The best case is that everybody gets really, really comfortable with their income. They get comfortable with their schedule, comfortable with what they do every day. They slide right into the comfort zone, and they believe they're capturing all the gross for you. They don't even think there's a problem at all. And in the car business, comfort is synonymous with complacency. Little by little, comfort becomes complacent. And when something does go sideways and they've got an easy out, they'll blame the economy. They'll blame the customers. They'll blame the market. They'll blame everybody but themselves. And the reason they won't blame themselves is they've been doing it the same way for 20 years. And 20 years ago, it worked great. So it must be the economy. It must be the customers. But here's the thing. They haven't changed in 20 years. The customer has. The whole industry has changed in 20 years. The whole industry has changed in the last 5 years. But the finance manager will refuse to admit they could do anything different to grow the pie. And that's the best case. Everybody becomes complacent. Everybody's still making good money. And so you all come to this 20 group and compare notes, looking for one little tweak here, one little tweak there, a different menu, a software, a small adjustment here or there. And those things, they might give you a little bump here and there, but nothing. Those little tweaks are nothing compared to what you'd get if you could just flip that mindset. If you could break through that fixed pie mindset, because the tools are just sitting in a toolbox. And they won't work until that villain is gone. Now, this is the part that most dealers never see coming. What happens if you let that villain just keep living in your store? Every one of you has a top performer. You know who they are. You've got them on your sales floor right now, and you know they're wired completely differently than the people that believe the pie is only this big. You could never convince a true top performer that the pie is fixed. They know that if they sharpen a skill, run a proven process, put in more time and effort, the pie grows. You will never sell them on this is all there is. So watch what happens next in a store who gets comfortable, and comfort becomes complacency. The villain is allowed to live here, and your top performers, they'll never believe the pie is fixed for them, but they might start to believe that the pie is fixed here at this store. And if that belief sets in, those top performers, they jump ship. They go work for the dealer across town who's selling more cars every single month, because top performers, they want to be surrounded by other people that are growing. They want to be in the culture of growth that's expanding. It's more exciting than being in a comfort store. It's more rewarding than standing still or shrinking. And when those top performers leave, here's the gut punch. The pie actually shrinks, because now you're missing those deals from the top performers when they were putting them up. The people left behind, the ones who already believed the pie was only so big, their pie just got smaller for real. And now the culture starts to erode. The customer experience starts to erode, because those people who believe they're already getting all of the pie, who've got 20 years experience telling them they know best, they start to figure out that the only way to keep up with their mortgage, their lifestyle in a shrinking environment, is to take a little bit of pie from the person sitting next to them. Just a little bite. And that's when the culture truly rots. When they start eating off each other's plates, and eventually it gets to the point where the store needs a full reset. And that dealer either sells the store because they don't have it in them to rebuild it again, or they pay some high profile operator that flies in on a corporate jet. And that person who's fixed 37 stores in the past and never seen a problem he couldn't fix for a public group, they come in and they require a big guarantee and some equity. They fix this thing. And that operator, they fix it fast. They turn it around in 90 days. Why? Because that person knows how to flip the mindset of the people. They can show them a better way. Flipping that mindset, getting that villain out before the culture ever starts to erode, is exactly what we work through with the dealers on our monthly webinar, held on the same day near the start of each month. If you've got a finance manager who is a realist, that's the room where we show you what to do about it. So I told that room, there's only one way to get the villain out. In 19 years, I've never found another way to do it. Every single dealer on the right-hand side of the page is looking across at somebody on the left. The only way they're ever going to come to believe it's possible in their store, in their market, is they have to see it in order to believe it. Not on the financial statement of your buddy's store, not across the country. They need to see it in your store, with your customers, with your banks, with your opportunity inside of your building. And that finance manager with the fixed pie mindset, they're the only one that has to see it. That's the silver bullet you've been waiting for. You, the dealer, and the finance manager need to see it in order to believe it. Once you flip that mindset, you're going to get to the next level. And that's exactly the difference between a trainer and a performance coach, because it all comes down to one thing: who carries the R for the profitability of your finance department? In the old way, the trainer way, when you hire a company that sends in trainers, their responsibility starts and ends with one thing. If they were contracted to show up and train twice a month, and they showed up twice a month, they met their responsibility. Whether you got a result or not. Hey, we were here, good training, people seemed engaged, we did our part, now it's up to your team. The R never actually transfers. Nobody's carrying the responsibility to move the needle. And here's why it doesn't work on a seasoned finance manager. The trainer walks in and teaches theory, whatever their corporate office thinks works in F&I. And it's probably out of a training manual that hasn't been changed in 10 years. They teach what used to work back when they were in the box. And your veteran finance manager, that information, it goes in one ear and out the other. Because that vet is sitting there thinking, if you could really do this as well as you say you can, you'd be here doing my job, not standing there doing the training. They don't find a trainer credible. That's the secret your finance managers won't tell you. And that's the whole whole reason that a trainer showing up twice a month cannot move the needle the way a coach can. They can't carry the R for a $500 car increase in 90 days. All they can do is show up twice a month and have a conversation. And over time, those conversations, they just turn into social visits and they don't move anything. The new way is the performance coach way. Now take that physical R, that responsibility, put it in the hands of a performance coach, and you say, I need you to move the needle $500 a car, and I need it inside of 90 days. You make that responsibility clear. A performance coach doesn't start with theory. They understand the finance manager needs to see it to believe it, just like the dealer, but especially the finance manager. So the coach sits down in that finance manager's chair. They take the next 10 to 20 customers and they go to work. And they don't just perform better than the finance manager they're trying to coach. That's not good enough. What they do is they perform at a higher level than that 20-year vet ever thought was possible in this store with their opportunity. They perform at a higher level than they ever thought was possible. Their mind is blown and they see it. And that's how we capture the belief. Once they've seen it, once the performance coach has shown it, they've earned the right. The coach gets to get on the other side of the desk and they get to teach, not train, teach. Because now the finance manager has a brand new belief system about what's possible. And the coach shows them exactly how it was done. And if that finance manager is competitive, if they're any good, once they've seen it, they can't unsee it. They will race towards that higher performance level. That's the only way to pull the fixed pie mindset out of their brain and flip it into, if we all work together with these new tools and this coach, we can actually make the pie grow again. But it only works one way. They need to see it to believe it, and so do you. So let me bring it all the way back to that room in February. I stood in front of a group of dealers who came in convinced the silver bullet was the pay plan, or a menu, or some clever desking move that maybe wasn't quite completely ethical. And what they walked out with was an understanding that the silver bullet was never a tool. It was a mindset. And the only way to change a mindset is to let your people see it done in your house with your own eyes. So let me ask you the same thing I asked them. If you're on the right-hand side of that page right now, who is carrying the R for your store? Is it a trainer who shows up twice a month to check a box? Or is it somebody that'll sit in your chair, take your next 20 customers, and put the responsibility for their result on their own back? If you're tired of being on the right-hand side of the page and you want to know what it looks like to actually put the R in the right hands, that's what we walk dealers through every month on our webinar. It's the same day near the start of the month. We'll show you the difference between activity and results and what it takes to flip that mindset in your store. Here's the whole thing in one breath. The silver bullet isn't a tool. It's a mindset. And the villain that keeps you on the right-hand side of the page is a fixed pie belief sitting 6 inches between your finance manager's ears. You don't fix that with theory or a trainer who shows up twice a month. You fix it by putting the R in the hands of a coach who will show your people what's possible in your own store, because you have to see it to believe it. But remember the order of operations. Before you build F&I profitability, you have to have a solid foundation underneath it. If you haven't seen my video on how that dealer run an 104% loss ratio after 6 or 7 years of writing in reinsurance, watch that one next, because an upside down reinsurance company is just a symptom of an underperforming finance department. And you can't build a strong finance department on under-reserved products. Build the foundation first, the right premium targeted at the right loss ratio, and then build the F&I performance on top. Watch that video and then come back to this one. And if you want help figuring out who should carry the R in your store, click the link below to start the conversation. Our monthly webinar is where we're going to walk you through it. Stop overcoming the no's and start preventing them. That's how you move the needle and build something that lasts. We'll see you in the next video.